And we are officially live once again here at BC WrestlePod Network Syndicate podcasting conglomeration thing. At this point, we do it every single day of the week at this point. Well, at least during the summer because, summertime. But welcome to the Ring Rats and Riot Acts, your review team for DEFY Wrestling events here at the BC WrestlePod YouTube, Twitch, and podcasting network. I am in the co-host chair this evening, so I am so happy to just be here and exist and run the ones and twos. But of course, joining me is the Grand Master, the Grand Poobah, the head honcho in charge. All the goodness is Andrew, Mr. A to Z Wrestling. Andrew, I'm excited. I'm so happy that you convinced me to put DEFY Wrestling in our rotation. It didn't really take me. It wasn't that hard, though.
I feel like the gateway drug of GCW definitely helped ease our way into this, and then we got into progress, and DEFY just felt like it made the most sense. It just kind of filled out the trifecta.
Honestly, it just made sense. I mean, we started doing progress. I got us together for progress. You introduced GCW to me, and then we collectively decided, you know what, let's add DEFY. So I'm super happy to be here. But Andrew and I are here this evening to review DEFY Wrestling's Vortex that took place over the weekend, this past weekend, as well as a plethora of other things that happened in the last week. There's been a lot of wrestling this past week. I mean, from Seattle to Mexico to Japan, like the international shows are kind of taking precedent this week, which I love. But we find ourselves here, and of course, in the lovely home of Seattle, Washington, to review DEFY Wrestling's Vortex. Before we get into everything, though, if you like what you see on your screen here, whether it be the algorithm, word of mouth, or you randomly just found a bunch of weirdos on the internet reviewing wrestling, thank you for finding us here at BC WrestlePod. You can make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification for YouTube. Follow us on Twitch and Kick. But if full-length reviews are not up to your speed because of whatever reason, whether it be you don't have enough time or, YouTube is not your thing, then that is okay. You can still stay up to date with everything that we do, as well as our summaries for all the long reviews that we do, as well as report cards for the weekly shows and the special events and pay-per-views on the social medias, where me and Andrew have been cranking out these report cards like they going out of style. Gosh, summer alone, I've created all the report cards for summer, and summer alone is just going to be wild. I mean, Andrew, you could attest to this. You saw the plethora of report cards I made for the GCW, DEFY, and JCW summer. It's a lot of work, you guys, but that is okay. It's a lot of work. But we also have some merchandise available for everyone. You can find it at Fourth Wall /BC WrestlePod or BC WrestlePod /fourthwall.com. We have review merch for all the review shows. We dropped our summer collection, and we have our special Pride. And the best way to describe the most recent collection is the "We Don't Stand for BS" here in the Estados Unidos here. So our Pride collection, proceeds from that collection will be donated to Point of Pride, which will then in turn be helping, provide financial assistance for trans health and gender affirming care. And then our We Don't Tolerate BS here in the United States, which is the We Don't Tap collection. Part of those proceeds will be donated to an organization here in Southern California, which is helping young children, teenagers, and young adults, whether it be legal advice or any type of financial assistance, given the fact of what's happening with children being ripped apart from their families in these trying times due to certain government organizations. Not going to go into detail because we'll get demonetized. Or shut down, one of the two. But hey, I give no F's right now, Andrew. I have been inspired by Brody King from last night, so we're going to carry that energy for the rest of my days on this planet. Don't care. Brody King, you are my idol. I love you so much. Also, Hangman Page, you're invited to the Kinsey too. Anyways, But with that out of the way, let's focus our attention back on DEFY Vortex because, my goodness, Andrew, this was a really fun show. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, this was a show that just got continuously better as the night went along, and I mean, I always enjoyed Defy shows, but this they always seem to exceed my expectations.
I enjoyed myself when we covered a Fatal Fantasy, but I agree with you. As from the first match to the final match, it just progressively kept getting better and crazier and wilder, and introducing me to some folks that I am so excited to be following now that we're here in Defy, as well as covering almost every other independent promotion out there you can possibly think of. But let's kick things off with what opened up the show. And both of us have had some feelings about a certain tag team. But we open up with the tag team match. This is the Bollywood Boys taking on what commentary told us they reunited over the last couple of weeks of the American Guns.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Remember, they got reunited because basically they had a skirmish in the ring. They were not. Neither one of them were in action, but they helped each other out, and it was kind of their reunification moment.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start off. So I have said it previously when we talked about Fatal Fantasy, and then when we were doing our live watch along for 100th back in February for Defy as well. The in-ring work is never an issue for me, but we both talked and agreed upon that we would like to see the Bollywood Boys change character a little bit. Obviously, that did not happen here, but I really like this match, and minus the character aesthetic, I was like, I think this is the strongest I've ever seen them. But I think that's a testament to them finally coming into their own. Hopefully, they'll ditch the aesthetic of what they're going on with to be more heel centric, but the American Guns brought it to them too. So I really enjoyed this tag team match. Andrew, what did you think about our opening match for Vortex?
I mean, I thought it had the energy, and they're both really well known in Defy. Whether it's the Bollywood Boys who have been around a lot recently or the American Guns, they're the first Defy tag team champions. Kind of being the vets of Defy, and so it was a good way to get everyone jumped into the card. I agree. We had a moment a while ago with the Bollywood Boys where they made a real hard heel turn, and I thought that was going to be seeing something a little different from them. And they're definitely playing into the heel, but it's still a bit of the comedic heel kind of stuff. And I mean, it's character work, and they're making choices, and they're doing that stuff, and they are being performers for what the roles that they're going for. So, I don't want to bag on that too hard, because in the aesthetic that they're going for, they are doing that. But I would like to see, I would almost like to see a more serious approach from them. I think we could have gotten a bit of that when they had teamed up with Raj Desi, when he had made his GCW debut, and that could have been a really good jumping off point for them, because it would be fresh. And also they're really, really, really good. And I think that says a lot, because they have so often been kind of comedic and silly tag teams, whether they're faces or heels. And to be really good and be comedic wrestlers, and kind of silly wrestlers, that takes a lot of skill. So I would like to see them be more of feel like a threat, not just because they're going to try and cheat and, swindle their way to get a victory. Not that they can't do that as heels, but I would like to see them turn that heelish up another notch or so, and see what they could do with that. But all in all, I thought this match was enjoyable. It was fun. It got kicked off with a lot of energy, and I think it just kind of was that good first course for the night.
And I think it was really smart to have this match open up for us for Vortex. What I will say is I actually like that all the matches on this card, even though the show was 3 hours, it felt like And this is just a minor thing. This is coming from like a structure point of like not just writing, but also like the flow of things. I talk about it all the time. I think the order of the card will definitely carry the energy in the right direction that it needs to. I think all the matches were placed in a pretty solid order. But on top of that, the matches themselves all got what felt like enough time for the things that we were watching. Like this, everything felt like everyone got about a equal amount of time, which was really nice to see. Because there are some matches we get excited for, and then it's over in 5 minutes, and then I'm like, why? But I felt like for Vortex, everything was given the amount of time that it needed to, and it was So this was a really fun opening match. So Bollywood Boys do pick up the victory over the American Guns, and we move on into our second match. Listen, listen. I've known Evan Rivers with his shenanigans being a part with Sinner and Saint, but it was really nice to see him in a one-on-one match. So we are getting Evan Rivers versus Mark Wheeler here. This is a real I like this one. This was fun. I've become a big fan of Evan now after this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mark Wheeler was super impressive in this too.
Both of them were really solid. This was a good back and forth. Andrew, what did you think of Wheeler versus Rivers?
I appreciate the fact that Evan Rivers won this match on his own, whether there were shenanigans or not. And in there, I like that we didn't, even as part of a faction, and we often do see him show up, shades to later on in the night, but we often do see him show up in Sinner and Saints matches. I like that he went up and won this on his own. However, he did win it. And it was a great showing from Mark Wheeler facing off against Evan Rivers, who's obviously a much more prominent figure in DEFY. Commentary talked about it a lot. His ability to move for someone of his build was super impressive. I thought they both looked really solid in this match. And there were even times when, even though I was pretty sure Evan Rivers was going to win, I wasn't sure that he was, because they were selling it really well between the two of them.
Right. And we'll talk about Rivers a little bit later when we get to our main event, but I thought this was a really solid match. I really liked both of them. I definitely want to see them both. Well, I mean, Rivers will be here for sure, but I would love to see Mark Wheeler come back or even pop up in other places that we watch, which with the ever revolving door of the trifecta of a bunch of these companies working together, would not be surprised if we started seeing them pop up in other places. But as you said, Andrew, Evan Rivers does pick up the victory here. I also agree with you in the sense that it was really nice to see Evan kind of win this on his own without the shenanigans and the help of, Sinner and Saint and being part of that faction. This was a really fun one, and I definitely hope to see both of them more in DEFY and other places as well. Oh my goodness, I love this match so freaking much. I will continue to say it till the cows come home. Marina Shafir, this is the presentation I wish you are getting in your company that you are currently with. Maybe we're starting to see that because her and Chris Statlander have been kind of feuding a little bit in the backstage segment. Listen, Chris versus Marina, feed that to me all day long. But in terms of DEFY Wrestling, here at Vortex, we get a DEFY Women's World Champion. This is Marina Shafir versus your mother's favorite Chola, La Chola Viperess. I cracked so hard when they said that, when they were announcing the competitors.
I definitely thought of you when they said that. And I was like, oh.
I was like, listen, I'm a Latino kid in Southern California. Like, it's not that hard to pop me with this kind of stuff. But so both of us this is not our first introduction to Viperess. We have seen, me and you have seen her pop up in GCW and other places. Our other GCW co-host Adolfo and I are also familiar with Viperess, but she's been popping up in Stardom events too here in the US and abroad, which has been really nice. So I will say, when I saw this on the card, I was very interested to see how Viperess was going to be able to, go up against Marina Shafir, who we know is very mat-based, strike-based, but she'll throw you around the ring if she needs you to. Dare I say it, Viperous showed up and showed out. She gave it to Marina, which was really nice to see. I also love that Marina was also playing the mind game too, luring Viperous into
Mhm.
certain holds and submissions and things like that. This was just very hard hitting. Lots of outside the ring German suplexes, getting thrown into mats, getting thrown into crowns. The apron was being utilized a lot as a weapon, which was really nice. By the end of this match, I'm like, somebody send these women to the chiropractor because my back is hurting just watching this match. But of course, to nobody's surprise, it is the mother's milk that solidifies Marina Shafir's win. And shout out to Marina Shafir. She is at this point, she has held this women's championship for for a little bit more over a year now, according to DEFY. So she's had this thing for 365 plus days, which is crazy. But
Yeah,
Andrew, what did you think of our
this
match?
this match was really good. I was really surprised. I was really surprised with how like the brawling aspect of Vipers played into this matchup. How much it was back and forth, and there was a lot of the time that Vipers was really like taking the beating to Marina Shafir. Um, obviously the referee gave some leeway, allowing Vipers, I guess, not technically hitting Marina Shafir with chairs, more throwing them into her, but using the ring post, taking the fights outside in places where submissions weren't going to be as match ending, and so it was really good. And I really enjoyed some of the last few title matches that Marina Shafir's had because we've seen her face these opponents that you wouldn't expect it to, and in other places you might not see it. You might get like a squash match, or they might have some match where they have to prove their ground, and get squashed, and have a pointless match for no reason. And instead, they're these really competitive, really fun matches, and in some places where they're like, oh, we don't want to make the champ look weak, or the champion doesn't want to look weak by taking these beatings from the challengers, it makes Marina stronger because she's facing tough competition and still winning. It's like you can throw everything you want at me, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to walk out with the title. And that's what we're getting. It was great. And Viper's looked amazing. I've loved since she's kind of leaned into this La Chola like kind of gimmick with her. I do have to say I really enjoy when she wears more of the like dicky bottoms, because she really leans into that like
Right.
aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I get a kick out of what she's going for, but also the way she leans into it and she plays it. It just makes her feel like a badass. Like I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I like what you're doing with your character. I want to see more of that. I love seeing her pop up in all these different places. So I thought this was a really, really good match. At this point, it was easily my favorite match of the night, and it was still in my top matches of the night. I will say, I was very surprised that when they announced Marina Shafir and they said representing the Death Riders, there was a pop. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy that there was a pop for the Death Riders in Defy, and all I ever hear outside of that when I hear people talking about AEW is about how sick and tired they are of the Death Riders,
Right.
and I was like, oh, interesting, interesting. So just a little
I
thing to notice.
Yeah. So I think I'll offer a little insight in that because as somebody who is part of the AEW review team, I can at least give you our mine, JVL's, and Crossway's perspective on it. I think the talent in Death Riders, well, let, let me say this. We always want Marina to be able to do more. And right now, she's the enforcer, kind of, but we want her to be able to. We want her to start fighting. Like, I thought her and Willow were going to square up. Like, it seems we're teasing her and Chris. I'm like, I need these three to start fighting because those three in a feud would be fantastic. the talent in the Death Riders we love. Like even Claudio's been showing up recently. Wheeler we know is very good. It's just, but right now because with Pac out on injury again, Wheeler's going to be ending up taking and eating these pins half the time. I think where we falter with the whole group in the Death Riders is that the story is very uninspired and like we have gone through peaks and valleys, mostly valleys of trying to figure out what is the point of the story, why is this faction, what is their motivation. As Crossway says, character motivation doesn't make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And Moxley sometimes is boning it in, so we're tired of the story. Hopefully come y'all in Texas, that will I need a certain cowboy to put an end to this, but who knows, we'll see with that. And it's crazy because I'm like, Marina's the enforcer here, but we know she could be a badass. And it sucks that while, yes, I love her, watching her in Defy, and I will take her in Defy, I need Tonith Khan to be able to do the same thing with her in AEW because that's how you're going to build the women's division. Because whether you watch Ring of Honor or not, Marina is probably the most, outside of Mox, she's the most over in that group with the crowd because everybody loves Marina. She's killing it. Love her. I just want her to do more than just look menacingly and fight and just do Mox's dirty work.
I will say, I know I'm an AEW outsider and we're talking about the fight now, but I just bring this up because I sent it to you all in a text as someone who doesn't regularly watch AEW. I do follow along the news and reviews and everything, but I really think what they need to do is have Death Riders turn on Moxley and have it be led by Marina Shafir, and that they got tired of his stuff and him being in charge and him getting all of that stuff, and have Claudio and Wheeler be her enforcers and just let her be the villainous leader of the group and have her go after one of those women's titles. Anyway, that's enough of my thoughts about AEW. Marina Shafir, she's kicking butt everywhere else, and she deserves it. And Viper's is awesome.
Yeah, and it definitely showed in this match of defending the championship and retaining the championship against Vipers here. But yeah, Vipers also keep wearing the Dickies. I love that because surprisingly enough, I don't see a lot of Latin wrestlers like lean into the Cholo status. Mm-hmm. Well, at least in the major feds. Yeah. Well, no, I can't say that because Mike Santana be repping Boricua, New York all the time. Like, yeah. But yeah, so this was fantastic, and I agree with you, Andrew, that this was my match of the night up to this point of the card, and then it still ended up being in my top matches of the whole entire thing. But we move on because originally scheduled, we were going to get Artemis Spencer versus Joey Janela. But then we were told that travel issues were forcing Artemis to not be able to make Vortex. So hopefully we get to see him down the line because he has an interesting look. And I did some research. So, however, we were told that Artemis Spencer would not be participating in this match. And whether it was the graphic team, y'all get the kudos for me because we got it officially announced that replacing Artemis Spencer going up against Joey Janela is one of my new personal favorites, thanks to Effie's Big Gay Brunch and our lovable weirdo, Mr. Randy Myers. I love this card. This was great. So I'm going to be honest. As soon as I saw this pop up before we got to the match, I was just like, okay. So Joey's probably going to do a lot of the offense. Randy going to be out here doing what Randy does best and, making out with the crowd and his opponents, which I love. This was a lot more back and forth, hard hitting than I thought it was going to be. I'm like, Randy Myers, yes. Like, also Joey, too. Mm-hmm. Joey getting booed in Defy, not to say that it wasn't surprising, but I was like, I got to remember that in different promotions, Joey Janela's character is received differently in different places. Like, because I'm so used to everybody cheering him in GCW, and then Defy, he gets slightly booed, but then he also gets cheered as well.
Well, and he's going against Randy Myers, who is a absolute crowd favorite. So, I mean, even if people would normally cheer for Joey, they're not going to cheer for him over Randy.
That's fair. But yeah, this match was this is a lot more hard hitting and back and forth than I thought it was going to be. Say kind of similar to Viper's and Marina's match. There's a lot of outside of the ring spots, dives onto there was spots on the floor, spots in chairs, spots in people, Randy making out with people. Um, this was really good. And I'm going to be honest, this match, putting my aside of how much I love good characters and shenanigans in this character and the presentation of Randy Myers, from a wrestling standpoint for me, this ended up being in my top 3 of the whole entire card, which was kind of crazy to watch because I think for me, I was very pleasantly surprised of how hard hitting these two actually went. Andrew, what did you think?
Nothing against Spencer, but I was kind of happy that we got this matchup. I have been watching Randy Myers since we started watching Defy, and he's just such a unique character. There's a few other that we see, especially watching independent wrestling, that kind of fits into that category, not mold, but category, because they're all very unique. But Randy's a lot of fun, engages with the crowd really well. Is always in there and up for it. And Joey, we talk about this a lot because we saw Joey originally from like AEW, is where a lot of us got that full exposure to Joey, and then we've been watching him at GCW and Defy and other independent promotions where he's really been growing. He, as much as he plays into that bad boy persona, he's really good at working with his opponents. He works to their skills, works to their character type, works to their match type, both in hey, I'm going to beat you in what you do best, but also in making them look really good. And so these two really gelled really well together. It was a really good action-packed match. Randy still got to be Randy and do his stuff while still really keeping in there with Joey, both taking the stuff that Joey was dishing out as well as dishing some out himself. Took some big shots from Joey, getting right back. That suplex that tumbled them out of the ring, and then he took a brainbuster out on the floor. It was pretty crazy. Just really good across the board. I really enjoyed it. And I thought this was a really good launching point for what we got after the match when Joey won. And then called out a challenge for the Defy Men's World Championship. I thought that was they do the independent promotions really seem to do a really good job of this, especially when they don't have weekly shows. It's like Crosswood always says, make it make sense. And they're doing that. He's like, hey, I beat Randy Myers. This should get me a shot. I've done all of these other things. I'm going to call you out on legitimate reasons why you need to be here, defending your title, or why I deserve it, or any of this kind of stuff. And it's his respect and love for professional wrestling, but also making it fit within the character and stories. And so I really enjoyed that. Also, because we watched GCW, and Joey Janela is kind of out of any of the title pictures in GCW. I was like, I would have never thought about it. But getting Joey to win that Defy World title would actually be pretty cool, especially because he might show up there a bit too, and then getting to see him hold that title there while he's not doing anything in not doing anything, but not holding a title in GCW, could be really good for him too. So I just thought there was a lot of really good aspects. Plus, just seeing him fight Connors is just going to be awesome. I'll take that all day.
Yeah, I'm super excited, and of course, not for nothing, whether it would, me, you, and, not to also include Adolfo, but also Adolfo, because we've really gotten to see a lot of Clark since me and Adolfo covered New Japan.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be honest, since Forbidden Door 2023, so 2 years ago, Forbidden Door, when he was entered as a last minute entrance to that Fatal 4-Way to become the inaugural international champion in AEW, who is this random rhinestone cowboy? Oh my God, he is actually really good. And then when he turned heel, part of Bullet Club War Dogs, Adolfo was very lucky to get to watch him during Best of the Super Juniors because Adolfo got his block while I got the other block. Also, been really enjoying DDT wrestling now. Best of the Super Juniors introduced me to probably my new favorite Mao, and now just following DDT. I'm like, all right, well, it's gonna have to wait until I get paid again later in the summer. But we gonna get Wrestle Universe and we're gonna watch this. We're gonna watch this. But of course, DDT is also where Takeshi does come from and all the fun spots as well. Like, it's so good. But listen, whether it's at the next event or whenever they want to throw Clark Connors and Joey Janela for this title, like give it to me like right now. Like I am so anticipating whenever that match is going to happen. That match is going to slap, and I can't wait to see what happens with all of that. But I also, again, and I agree with you, I love that Joey works well with his opponents, but he also puts over his opponents. Like he got on the mic and it's just like, listen, like I know I'm great, but y'all need to give it up for Randy Myers because he is fantastic. And then watching Randy like blow kisses at Joey and stuff like that, thanking him as well. I'm like, Joey Janela, they could never make me hate you. For real though. Like, I mean, he was in his character when we interviewed him at WrestleCon, but he is like off camera, he's the sweetest person ever. It was fun watching him and Zilla Fatu have a conversation together. It was really interesting to be a part of that. It was a wild time. But Joey Janela picks up the victory over Randy Myers. This was a really fun change. I need more Randy in my life, and I love that Joey's just all over the place here at the independent circuit. So this is really fun to watch. Woo! Okay, so I'm going to say this. So, not to say that our opening tag team match and, the match that happened afterwards, I was just like, okay, these are fun matches. Then once we got to Marina and Vipers, I was like, okay, this energy's starting to pick up. The previous match was also really good. This is where the energy spiked through the roof. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let me compose myself here. So, they decided, you know what? You thought the last two matches were great and fun. Now let's give you something to make you go, the whole entire time. So we get Cedric Prime Alexander taking on Starboy Charlie. This match was bananas. This match was awesome. Both of them brought, there's not enough adjectives in the English language for me to describe how much yelling at my computer screen I did when I watched this. I was like, I was like, run it back, run it back. Oh my gosh. Listen, this is not the first time I've seen Starboy Charlie. I've gained so much respect and have become a bigger fan of him after this. Cedric Alexander, I have missed you so much, and I am so happy that now you are back on my wrestling screen, and I cannot wait to see what you end up doing, popping up in all these other places too. I've missed Cedric. I've one of the few people I feel like he was never utilized properly where he was in WWE. I mean, let me correct myself. He wasn't utilized when he was on main roster, but when we had 205 Live, him and all the other 205 Live guys actually had some substance to them. And then when that division got squashed, all my hopes and dreams were gone with it. But that's neither here nor there. Andrew, what did you think about Starboy Charlie versus Cedric Alexander?
Yeah, I mean, Cedric was looking like a beast from when he just came down there. I mean, he is just put on so much muscle and size, but he still has that speed to go. Starboy Charlie's been impressing me since I started watching GCW, and that's where I first saw him, and I've seen him in a few other promotions. Both super entertaining. I was surprised how it started out because I am so familiar with Cedric Alexander's work rate of what I've seen him in the past, and obviously Starboy Charlie is very similar to that. So I was very surprised at how kind of methodical it started out in the beginning, and commentary hit on this a lot too, was talking about the size advantage because Cedric's like 4 inches taller and at least I think like 20 pounds heavier or something. So not usually the bigger guy, but much more so in this case. So he really leaned into that. And this match really it kind of started the momentum, and then as soon as it started going, it just kept ramping up and ramping up and ramping up, and it was almost like Cedric Alexander wanted to send a message using Starboy Charlie, and the more that Starboy Charlie fought back against it and wouldn't go down, the angrier that Cedric, or it was like the more frustrated that Cedric got, but it wasn't the frustrated that was like going to cost him the match. It was just like it was like he expected it to be easier, or that it should have been easier, and he just was like angry at Starboy Charlie for not just like stopping. And so it just like that energy just kept ramping up, and then there were some really exciting spots throughout the entire match, and what led up to the finish and how fast that finish just happened once they turned it on was so good. Really enjoyed this. Love seeing Cedric back. I want to see him just everywhere because he was someone who I really enjoyed from 205 Live, and watching him on there, like from when I first saw him on there, I really wanted to see more from him. I hope he gets to go everywhere that he wants to go. Selfishly, I would love if he stays with DEFY or goes to GCW or any of the other promotions that I watch regularly because I want to see more of him. But if he wants to go to other promotions too, and he gets that opportunity, like more power to him because I think he deserves it. He's so good. And I think he has still so much like potential to be used in so many good ways. And Starboard Charlie is just always super entertaining, super fun. Love seeing him show up, and he seems like he's so willing to go out there and wrestle anybody and do whatever. He had a great match in the tournament to crown the new DEFY World Champion, and looked great there too. So every time I see him, I'm always more and more impressed with him. So these two killed it. And yeah, this really, every match that before it, this match was one of the first matches where it was like, okay, you've knocked out the previous match of the night for me, and it felt like all of the matches after this just kept going, okay, great match, okay, great match, okay, great match. And
they were literally playing a knockout tournament to see what would end up being my match of the whole entire night. And honestly, I will say this more in depth at the end when we give our final thoughts, but honestly, I've put this probably in one of my top 5 overall pay-per-views events of the whole year, just because everything was so solid. But yeah, this match was great. And to kind of talk to what you brought out about, Cedric putting on a lot more muscle and bulking up a little bit too, just the visual of him pulling Starboy Charlie up by like the overalls, like a yo-yo towards the tail end of the match to try to get him back up was kind of crazy to watch. But yes, I agree with the crowd because they want Starboy Charlie and Cedric to come back to DEFY. And I'm like, yes, bring these two back and run it back. Like, don't care. Like, both of them were great. And by this point, I was like, okay, this is probably my match of the night, right? So I'm like, what else is going to be there? And I was just like, all right, we got this. What's next? And I'm, Jesus Christ. Well then, okay. Oh my gosh, I can't. This match, Megan, I love you so damn much, girl. Like, I love you. And Nicole Matthews is my introduction to you, and I love you too, girl. But like, oh my gosh, this match. This is what I need to see. And Megan, I'm like, I don't know if Tony will let you and Willow do this, but like, this is what I want for Megan and Willow in the future down the line. Like, for reals. Just have Megan fight. We're far enough into it. Let Megan Bain be a big hoss girl and fight bitches left and right. I'm just like, oh, this match ruled so much. Andrew, I'm gonna let you go first because I need to collect my thoughts.
Well, to your point, like I put it on the report card is that this was a house match between two powerhouses. It doesn't matter if they were two women powerhouses or whatever. This was a house match like a house match should be, and I really enjoyed it because we got to see all the power moves and everything, but we also got to see some fun wrestling, character work. Nicole Matthews is a longtime vet. Megan Bain has been growing so much over the last year or so. Big moves. She was like one of the staples of GCW over the last year. Big move to AEW, but still comes back and wrestles through the independents when she can. And I think this is a great indicator. Like, you talk about AEW, it's like you've got people like Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, that are like powerhouses. You've got quite a few other folks in there too that could really play into the powerhouse matches. And I know AEW likes to do that, or at least they have in the past. Like, let the women can do this, especially because so many of them, even though they're powerful, are super athletic. You know, for those of us that were watching wrestling through the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and everything, a lot of the big powerhouses that were usually men weren't the most athletic people. You know, they were people who were like, oh, hey, you're 7 foot something tall. Cool, we're going to put you in there. You don't have knees that work, but whatever. You can just stand there and look big. You know, and so this, though, is what I really enjoy seeing. And we've got that across the board with professional wrestlers right now. We've got a lot of athletic, powerful wrestlers. And I love the fact that we have so many women that kind of fit that category too. They're taller, they're stronger, they're athletic. You know, they're all of these different builds. And I want to see more of this. And this was just a great example of like the type of matches that we can have when you let them do these things. And I mean, I love seeing Megan be a monster, and I really get a kick out of seeing her face off against other powerful opponents because it shows how strong she is, even when she's fighting someone who's the same strength as she is, which we got to see a lot of in GCW because she fought everybody, men, women, they, them, it didn't matter. She would fight anyone, and she'd go in there with people who were much bigger than her and still go powerhouse against them. So this match was a awesome match. It was a you know, if you want the beef, they brought the beef, and it was super fun, and the ending was super decisive, and Megan looked like a beast, and you know, Nicole Matthews brought it, so loved it.
I loved it so much. Like a fast food slogan, DEFY Vortex, we have the meats. No. So a bit of a side note, because Megan has always been on my radar. But not to say that it took AEW to kind of show Megan to the masses, but being in AEW helped. But I've been really enjoying following Megan's, well, actually since Homecoming last year for GCW. I mean, I've always known Megan, but then I followed her religiously, and we got to see her fight in all kinds of places. Her match against Atticus at People versus GCW earlier this year was amazing. You know, her in that battle royale not too long after that was fantastic. She's been booked really fun and very well in AEW. I mean, she and Tony had a really phenomenal match. Like, it was so much fun. Her and Penelope Ford make a really fun tag team, and I'm actually really liking the direction we're going now that Ty Mello is back in AEW. Her, Megan, and Penelope are fighting Anna Jay and Ty Mello, which makes me super excited. So, as a side note, I'm going to the AEW show July 2nd for Dynamite 300 and Collision 100. I'm really hoping that Megan gets booked on that show, not just for me, but because I'm taking Mama Laguila with me, and she has been really loving the women's wrestling at all the events that we got to, and she's really become a big fan of the strong style. Zack Sabre Jr. made her a fan when I took her to Resurgence. I hope that she gets to see Megan, because Megan, I think she's so powerful and she's so good, and what you said, Andrew, she can fight any type of person, and the amount of growth she has had, because this is only her like 4th, 5th year wrestling as a whole. I want to say, if we're including her stardom years too.
No, 8 years. She's been wrestling for 8 years.
Okay, but yeah,
she's really been picking up over the last couple of years.
Stardom, GCW, the Independents, AEW, like, she killing it right now. And I love that DEFY and some of the other smaller independents, to your point too, is that they get to use these veterans who've been in this industry for a while, who aren't going to be like on the big superstar levels of like these big feds, but they're just as equally important, because that's how they make this business go round. Yeah. But yeah, by the end of this, I was like, well, this is my favorite match now in the whole night. What, like, y'all need to stop DEFY, because I couldn't handle myself.
Well, yeah,
and then, yeah, go ahead.
Veterans, Nicole Matthews has been wrestling for 19 years.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's important, too. Like, shout out to the homie, Zoe Sky, who we got to interview at WrestleCon, too. And Jesse and her had a really fun conversation off camera, too, because Zoe has been in this industry for 15 plus years now at this point, too. And just going and wrestling anywhere and everywhere, and how that life goes. And then also training people. Like, it's important that we also not only get the superstars we see on these independent events or on the television shows, but just the people in the business as general, because without them, there would be no WWE, AEW, TNA, all these promotions we get to watch on TV weekly. Like, for real. Somebody's got to be training them and working these kids, man.
Well, and that's something that watching the independent promotions has really made me appreciate, because there's so many people that if you just watch the televised shows, you may never know them. Whether it's because they don't quote unquote make it to those promotions, or they don't want to. That lifestyle's not for them. They want to keep doing what they're doing. They don't want to be, they don't want to work for that company, or they don't want to be restricted by this company. They want the freedom that they have. And, we talk about this a lot. Of independent wrestling has gotten to a point now where people can have flourishing careers on the independents. And now that we can watch them so much easier, it means we get to enjoy a lot of these wrestlers that are phenomenal and should be talked about in the same breath as who we think of as these Mount Rushmore figures of professional wrestling, because we know them because they're on television. And there's so many other people that are just as good character work, just as good in-ring work, just as good behind the scenes working, helping support the other wrestlers, putting in the work, doing the promotions, doing all that stuff. And so, a huge credit to all of those people who build the wrestling business, whether they're on television or not.
No, absolutely. And I loved it. This match rolled, and I was like, all right, Defy, like, you've already knocked out my matches of the night. Like, how much more can you give me? Woo, man. This tag team wrestling is not dead, y'all. I don't care what the internet tells you. Tag team wrestling is thriving. You just need to know where to find it. But in the main event of DEFY Vortex, this is for the DEFY World Tag Team Championships in a best 2 out of 3 fall match. We have the challengers of C4, who I'm coming to love. The more and more I get to see them on my screen. And they're taking on the champions of Sinner and Saint, who remind me why I need TNA to utilize them a little bit better over there. Because this is the Sinner and Saint. Listen, I know they're under the tutelage of Eric Young and TNA right now in Northern Armory, but I need these two to turn on Eric and bring me this energy to TNA, because they're slowly getting there, but TNA needs to crank it up. But woo, this match was banging. Like, this was my match of the whole entire card. I do not care what nobody says. I was just like, we are good. Like, this match ruled. The in-ring psychology for me was fantastic. We told the 3-act structured stories in each of the falls, and it was just beautiful to watch. And I highly recommend this match. If y'all want to see what tag team wrestling is about, y'all need to watch this. On my soul, this match brought me so much joy, and it brought me so much joy to the same amount of Briscoe and FTR's dog collar match at Ring of Honor pay-per-view a couple years ago too, of how much joy I really loved watching tag team wrestling. Like, oh my gosh, this match ruled. Andrew, I need your thoughts. You are what we lovingly dub as our tag team aficionado here at BC WrestlePod. So I am very interested to hear your thoughts. What did you think of our main event?
I will be honest, when this match was coming up, the matches that were before it were really good and really fun. And I almost went into this one going, I don't know if this is gonna be at the same level, if this is gonna live up to my hype. Now that I got here, you got me peaked up so much. I don't know if this is gonna keep up with it. By the time it was over, I was in the same boat. This was my match of the night. So good. It was crazy too, because it was a 2 out of 3 falls. We went all 3 falls. And it did not feel long. And looking at it now, it was over 40 minutes. And it did not feel like it, because they kept it going. They kept it exciting. They kept it interesting. The history of C4, it's believable that C4 could take these titles back. It was I appreciate the fact that for most of the match, it was just 2-on-2. There weren't, Rivers didn't get involved too much until later, and even when he did, it was very minimal.
Hmm.
Um, and the action was so good. The way it went back and forth. Obviously, these are two tag teams who are legit tag teams who know tag team wrestling, know each other, longtime partners, and like not only do you need to have that to be a cohesive tag team, but to be able to be cohesive tag team wrestlers to wrestle another tag team, that it takes so much skill, and it's a very unique wrestling style. I put tag team wrestling up there with like being able to actually do, lucha libre is a
Hmm.
unique skill. Being able to do strong style is a unique skill. Like the different, small different styles of professional wrestling, it takes certain skills to do that. And tag team wrestling is unique in that aspect as well. And these two teams are so good at it. I Since the little bit of time that I've seen Sinner and Say, I think I've been maybe watching them for a year or less now.
Hmm.
Um, and they've been so impressive to me. They're one of my favorite tag teams as far as in-ring tag teams go. I think they're a great heel tag team. I love the fact that they're all over the place right
Yep.
now. They're in HOG, they're in TNA, they're in Defy. They're just popping up everywhere. Um, and C4 is super good. I thought this was a great matchup, and I thought everyone did such a phenomenal job in this. And yeah, independent wrestling is showing you like what tag team wrestling can be, and there's so many good wrestlers out there. And it's unfortunate because I think there's some really good tag teams in some of the bigger promotions, but they put so little emphasis on promoting tag team wrestling that you
Hmm.
don't really get to see how good some of those tag teams, even the best ones, because they maybe only focus on the two or three, and then it becomes like the same people wrestling each other, or you get these thrown together tag teams that just kind of diminish the quality of their tag team divisions. But like there's so many good ones out there. GCW, Progress, Defy, HOG. Like, there's just so many good tag teams out there. Wrestling
Like
Revolver. Uh,
I, yeah, I fell in love with the tag team match that happened at Puerto Rican for the Puerto Rican weekend for
mhm.
Hog. I like I said in my little bite-sized review, I that tag team match was great, but also a lot of their talent was fantastic too. I oof, I love it so much, and tag team wrestling is where it's at, man. Like honestly, when you have a good tag team division, you can have matches like this be the main event of your show, where we're used to here, at least in the Western states and some of the international brands, that your big singles champions are always going to be main eventing because it's singles
Mhm.
championships. But here we have a 2 out of 3 falls tag team championship match as the main event, and it was amazing. I you pretty much said everything that I was going to say, Andrew. I think the only other thing I will add is that I'm very excited to see who steps up to Sinner and Satan next, because these boys have been through a lot as tag team champs. They've had this 2 out of 3 falls. They had a ladder match for these titles earlier in the year too. I'm very interested to see who steps up to them next. But this main event ruled.
Yeah.
I oof, like when th- this was the main event, the screen went black, and I was just like, "Defy, don't make me wait forever. I need to know when the next event is."
Yeah.
I will say, shout out to AEW, because I don't know if Defy Talent's gonna be popping up when they go to Kent over the next week or so. I hope so. That'd be kind of great, but who knows? But it was really interesting to watch AEW graphics pop up during Defy. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But this show was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There was, even with my nitpicks, I was just like, I had no problems with this show what from beginning to end. Like this was such a fun 3 hour watch, and I'm just like, it's over already. No. This
Yeah,
was this is one of my favorite things I watched this past weekend, not gonna lie.
and it's the talent that DeFi brings in. It's the way they put their cards together, and also you can't forget about the fans at the Washington Hall is just having a home arena. It's much like Progress. When you have a place like that, there's just a different energy and the appreciation for the performers and what you're getting to see. And so yeah, I mean, I think we've said it virtually with every match, but independent wrestling right now is so good, and we're just we're in a lifetime of riches right now for professional wrestling, and this was just another cherry on the Sunday here for us of getting to enjoy some really phenomenal professional wrestling and getting to see some really great professional wrestlers.
No, 100%. And I also think, especially right now, as we're heading into like the full swing of the summer season, both for the major feds and for the independents too, there's a wild time of who be popping up everywhere. Like me and you have had private chats, but like Shotzi is about to be flying to the fight in progress as the pick your poison opponent against Nina Samuels. We see Cedric Alexander here. Alex Hammerstone is about to probably have a banging match at MLW. Like Kenta's out here fighting people. Like Kenta's gonna be at MLW too, which makes me super excited. Shotzi gonna be popping up everywhere. Her and Matt Cardona are having like an online feud, which is kind of great. Which I'm excited to lead to a match in GCW. But just the amount of talent just popping in and out of all these places makes me super excited, and I cannot stress enough. I need people to at least watch one independent federation. If like not because I think if you just watch WWE or AEW, like you're not a real fan, because I'm not going to do that because wrestling is subjective and people enjoy different things. And I'm not going to knock those people like some people do on the internet. But if you are a person that wants to expand your resume of wrestling, I'm not saying you got to be like us and watch everything, but I highly I mean, that's very true. That's me. I watch all the things and I'm like, what is a social life? No, surprisingly, because of how big we are, it makes it really easy if I'm like, hey guys, can I go to the movies? Yeah, we got you. I'm like, cool, I'm gonna go watch the movie. See y'all later. But I 100%, if you're looking to expand your wrestling mindset in 2025, I think you need to complete a trifecta. Watch one of the major feds, whether it's AEW, WWE, and I'll throw TNA as one of the three major feds, honestly, because they're the three that get the weekly TV shows all the time. I also think that you need to include at least one independent, so DEFY, GCW, House of Glory, like I would even recommend Hood Slam, not even gonna lie. Like I would recommend these other places. And then of course, to complete the trifecta, I feel that you need to at least include one international brand: New Japan, Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, Progress Wrestling. And a lot of these companies, they throw talent in and out, so you're going to be seeing a bunch of folks from all these promotions be there anyway, so you're going to find somebody you love, I promise. So which is a good segue, because we're talking about all these different thoughts about wrestling and opening your mindset. And tomorrow evening is a perfect opportunity if you are looking to open your mindset and get into this lucha libre, because we have two more things happening this week. Tomorrow evening, listen, Andrea, I'm not going to lie, I've been waiting for this all week because I can't wait to hang out with you and talk about DEFY Wrestling. But tomorrow night, I'm equally as excited because I have been waiting since they announced this back in March, but we are finally here. Tomorrow, we will be at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. We are having a live watch-along for CMLL and New Japan's Fantástica Mania Mexico 2025. Not only is this going to be a great show because it includes CMLL, New Japan, AEW, Ring of Honor, Rev Pro, and New Japan Strong Talent, this also will be the show that marks the 1-year anniversary for Los Lobos de la Lucha. This event is the first thing we covered when we started covering CMLL last summer, when we began last summer. And this is going to be the 1-year anniversary. So myself, El Buntador del Segundo, y Papo Oso. The three of us will be doing a live watch along. May or may not be getting Crossway to be involved in this because he's been watching CMLL to prep for the AEW review for Grand Slam Mexico and everything next week, and he's been really enjoying it. So maybe I can pull him over here, but who knows? But if y'all want to watch this, we had a great turnout when we did the Aniversario show back in September. There were 3,000 of you that came out in full front. So if y'all want to watch this with us, it's on YouTube. You can watch this live with us. This is a great card. We got another match added where we are getting a CMLL Women's Championship match, which makes me super excited. This is going to be fun. Then on Sunday, we are back to business as usual as the Dual Dynasty crew will be reviewing Raw and SmackDown. And if I remember my calendars correctly, we will also be giving our predictions for Night of Champions because that is coming up very soon. But of course, we don't cover Saudi shows here on this platform. But, you know, we are about to find out who's going to be punished and have to watch Saturday night's main event and do commentary for it. I'm going to be, Andrew, we'll talk about it. You were part of that group chat. I was just like, I don't know, y'all. After what we got announced so far for Saturday night main event, I may not want to do a live watch along and pick something else to do for that instead. But I don't want to be bashing because then I sound like a hypocrite. But that's going to be it for us here at Ring Rats and Riot Acts. We don't know when the next DEFY Wrestling event is, but as soon as I figure that out, me and Andrew going to talk and I'm going to put that on the calendar like you already know. So I'm super excited. Andrew, thank you so much for being here, and I thank you for, you know, creating this team with me. This is I'm so in love with DEFY now.
Hell yeah.
Just cannot wait. And Andrew and I won't be gone for too long because the Progressives will be making a return very soon because coming up, we have Far From Ordinary People and Stay Humble coming up very shortly, which makes me super excited. Also, we got lots of things coming up this summer, so make sure to tune into the socials and the YouTubes for those announcements coming up because we going international, y'all. And I'm just saying here, this is random, but I just want to shout out Bear Bronson. You are a beautiful human being. I love you so much. Thank you for, you know, taking the time to have a conversation with me today and yesterday. It was great. Also, Brody King, I said it at the beginning, but you are my idol now. But that's going to be it for us here. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back, me and Andrew, in some capacity very shortly in the next week or two. So stay tuned for all of that. But until then, from all of us here at the BC Wrestle Pod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay Bi-Conic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will catch you tomorrow for our Fantastica Mania watch along, as well as what we got going on the remainder of the week. But until then, sayonara, adios. Remember to take the time to love yourself and to look out for each other in these trying times. We love you, but until our next review, take care, and we'll see you later. Ta-ta for now.